Greetings, Culturians, and welcome back to the channel. We have a lot to discuss when it comes to Hollywood self-destructing itself. Self-deleting, pick your adjectives, but I'm going to tell you they get in their own way more often than not, especially when it comes to making money and having successful projects coming out of their studios. An example of a good one recently is How to Train Your Dragon, and what a terrible mistake they're making right now because they don't have any forethought or belief in the products they produce. That's hard to believe. What am I talking about? Well, let's run it down. Here we go. How to Train Your Dragon. Coming to us from World of Real and Jordan Rumi, who always writes great articles, there's something to be said for leaving a film in theaters. Unfortunately, How to Train Your Dragon heads to digital just 1 month after release, and while still in the top 10 of film releases right now. It's crossed over $500 million. It could get closer and closer to $800 million if they just left it alone. But they can't. They won't, and it'll go to streaming very, very soon. The DreamWorks production of How to Train Your Dragon is heading to digital platforms on July 15th. A mere month after its initial theatrical release. The film just crossed the $500 million global mark this last weekend and is currently sitting at number 3 in the domestic box office, just for over a week now. But in just over a week, it'll be available to stream in your living room. And that's a very, very bad precedent to keep setting. You are cannibalizing the performance at the box office of each and everything you produced. And while Universal has one plan, Warner Brothers has another, and Disney yet theirs, all three of them are all the same bad idea, pulling films out of theaters before they've had their run. And in the end, you're training your audience to stay away from theatrical releases and just go to see something when it's streamed. It also gives people a chance to bail out of any of these streaming services only to return when there's something of interest that shows up, but only for that 1 month at best, and maybe just a trial period at least. And with this, Jordan comments cleverly that so much for the industry's new consensus on reinstating the 45-day theatrical window. And look, it definitely hurts the exhibitors who have these films for such a brief period of time. It's really destroying the primary financial gain that these studios get from producing these horrendously expensive tentpole constructions. In fact, just a few months ago, major studios, 3 to be exact, agreed in principle to bring back a sense of stability to theatrical exhibition. Keep movies in theaters for at least 45 days before pushing them to VOD. A handful of others were reportedly in talks to do the same, and that handshake deal now appears to be window dressing. And in that, I would agree. But one possible suggestion into what's going on here, they already made these contracts before they had that handshake deal, which is actually a possibility. A PR move meant to appease frustrated exhibitors while studios continue chasing a real prize, which is 100% of digital profits, is another likelihood, according to Jordan. And I could agree with that as well. Back in January, Quentin Tarantino minced no words on the matter, saying specifically, "What the F is a movie now?" He asked. Something that plays in theaters for a token release of 4 flippin' weeks, and by the second week you can watch it on the television. I didn't get into all this for diminishing returns, and I think Tarantino makes a good point here. In fact, it's the same point that myself and Tom and many others have been making for a long period of time. Tarantino's tirade wasn't just a director venting. It was a cry for help from a theatrical model that's been in freefall since 2020. But again, it's a free fall created by the studios themselves. With the studios shuttered because of a global crisis for months to nearly a year, the studios forced themselves into a digital-first mindset. The floodgates, of course, opened up, the theatrical exclusivity collapsed, and with it, the movie-going experience took a serious hit. Not to mention the fact that in one foul swoop, the studios trapped themselves into a limited revenue pathway, unlike the one that they had enjoyed with 6 or 7 revenue streams before. And this pathway to destruction, well, it hasn't slowed down. Earlier this year, Steven Soderbergh's Black Bag went to VOD after just 17 days. Universal's Wicked hit digital 30 days after its theatrical release, even though it's still playing strong numbers in the box office. Unlike Theatrical, where studios split profits 50-50 with exhibitors, VOD means they keep nearly all the money, which at times only amounts to another $20 or $30 million. It's not like it's hundreds of millions of dollars. It's usually a footnote on many of the theatrical earnings, which doesn't explain what they're doing. And as Jordan says here, How to Train Your Dragon is still performing well in theaters with solid legs and a strong family turnout. And, well, that was despite significant competition from Lilo and Stitch. And yet, now it's going to digital just 31 days after original release. And for now, the promise of a 45-day window remains just a promise. One that studios, of course, seem all too willing to break. And for some reason, the studios now seem to be allergic to making the most money possible, which is a bad path for investors and moviegoers alike. And with that, I wrapped up my thoughts. And with that, I'm done. What about you? Do you think that the studios are setting themselves alight for a reason? Do you think that they are allergic to profitability when it comes to one of these major tentpoles? Do you think that perhaps we go back to the old way of doing business where films are oftentimes in theaters for 90 days or more? Do you think there's a chance if they hold off on VOD, they'll get more earnings in the theaters? Or do you think this is all a scheme to collapse the exhibitors in the United States and abroad and bring those theaters back into control of the studios, which has now been allowed for the first time in the States for a very, very long time? Will investors start to catch on and start caring? Is that a possibility? I don't know, and I don't think so. But let me know your thoughts down in the comments section below. Where are you at with the theatrical release window and or the straight to digital, or at perhaps a mix of both that seems to be at the center of Hollywood's current folly? Is there ever a way to return back to the old days? And will that be technologically driven? Again, let me know your thoughts down in the comments section below. And as always, be sure to take care of yourself, take care of others, and until next time, see ya for real.